My name is Jessica Carter, and I'm standing in a courtroom where my own father just called me a snake. He's wearing an expensive watch I've never seen before, probably bought just to look successful. My mother sits beside him, nodding along like a bobblehead, agreeing with every lie. They're here for one reason: money. And my grandfather's money. But they forgot something important. I kept everything, every text, every missed call, every broken promise. And today, those receipts are about to destroy them. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, because this story gets wild. I was 4 months old when they decided being parents was too hard. Diapers, late nights, baby crying, none of it fit their lifestyle. So they dropped me off at Grandpa William's house like I was a package they didn't want anymore. Just for a few weeks, my mother told him. Those weeks turned into years. Those years turned into my whole life. Grandpa William was a baker. Every morning at 4 a.m., he'd wake up and head to his small bakery downtown. The smell of fresh bread would fill the house before sunrise. When I got older, he'd wake me up too. "Come on, Jess," he'd whisper, careful not to be too loud. "The dough won't knead itself." I'd stumble into the kitchen, still half asleep, and he'd lift me onto a stool so I could help. My small hands would punch the dough while he told me stories about his own childhood. "Family isn't who makes you," he'd say, flour dusting his gray hair. "Family is who raises you." My parents would call maybe once every few months, always the same excuse. "We're so busy, sweetheart, work is crazy right now, we'll visit soon." Soon became a word I learned to hate. It meant never. It meant lies wrapped in sugar coating. I'd wait by the window on Saturdays, thinking maybe this time they'd show up. Grandpa would find me there hours later, still waiting, and he'd just hug me tight without saying anything. What could he say? We both knew the truth. When I turned 7, my mother sent a birthday card. Inside was a picture of her at a beach somewhere tropical. Tanned skin, big smile, fancy drink in her hand. She'd written on the back, "Wish you were here." But not enough to actually bring me there. Not enough to be there with me. Grandpa hung it on the fridge anyway. "She's trying," he said softly. But even at 7, I knew better. She was showing off, not showing up. School was tough. Teacher-parent conferences would come around, and Grandpa would show up in his baker's uniform, still smelling like cinnamon and vanilla. Some kids would laugh. "Why does your dad smell like cookies?" they'd tease. "He's my grandpa," I'd shoot back, "and he smells better than your dad's boring cologne." Grandpa would squeeze my hand under the table, proud that I stood up for us, for HIM. Middle school was worse. Career day came, and everyone's parents showed up to talk about their jobs. Lawyers, doctors, teachers, engineers, they all came in fancy clothes talking about fancy things. My mother was a real estate agent. She could have come. She should have come. But she didn't. So Grandpa William showed up instead, carrying a tray of fresh pastries he'd made that morning. "I'm a baker," he told my class with a huge smile. "I feed people's souls, not just their stomachs." The whole class clapped. He passed out cream puffs and croissants, and suddenly I was the most popular kid in school, at least for that day. My teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, pulled me aside afterward. "Your grandfather is special, Jessica. Hold on to him." I did, with everything I had. High school brought more disappointments. Prom night, my mother promised she'd come help me get ready. "I'll do your hair and makeup," she'd said over the phone, voice sugary sweet. "It'll be like a real mother-daughter moment." I waited for 5 hours, hair undone, makeup scattered on my desk, dress hanging sadly on my door. She never came, never called, never texted. Grandpa found me crying on my bed at 6 p.m., my prom starting at 7. "Get up," he said firmly. Not mean, just determined. He sat me down, watched 3 YouTube tutorials on how to do prom hair, and did his absolute best. It was messy and crooked, but it was made with love. He even tried to do my makeup, his big baker hands shaking as he applied mascara. "I might poke your eye out," he joked, making me laugh through tears. I looked ridiculous, but I felt loved. That's what mattered. My date's mother took pictures of us before prom. Grandpa stood there in his flour-stained apron. He'd come straight from work, grinning like I was a princess. Because to HIM, I was. College acceptance letters started arriving when I turned 18. I'd worked so hard, studying late into the night while Grandpa brought me warm milk and cookies. "You're going to do big things," he'd say, ruffling my hair. I got into state university with a partial scholarship. We'd still need money for the rest. I prepared to take out loans, to work 3 jobs if I had to. Then Grandpa did something that made me cry. He took out a loan against his bakery, his life's work, his pride and joy to pay for my college. Grandpa, no, I protested. That bakery is everything to you. He just shook his head, eyes wet but smiling. You're everything to me, Jess. The bakery is just a building. You are my legacy. I called my parents to tell them about college. Maybe they'd be proud. Maybe this would matter to them, my father answered. That's great, Jesse. Listen, can I call you back? I'm in the middle of something. He hung up. He never called back. My mother texted 3 days later, proud of you, with a party emoji. That was it. No offer to help. No questions about my major. Nothing real. But Grandpa, he came to every parent's weekend, 4 years straight. While other students showed their families around campus, I showed mine, MY family of one. Grandpa William, the baker who smelled like home. He'd bring boxes of pastries from my dorm floor, making friends everywhere he went. My roommate, Ashley, once said, "Your grandpa is cooler than both my parents combined." I believed her. After graduation, I got a job as a social worker. It didn't pay much, but it meant everything to me. I helped kids who were going through what I'd gone through, abandoned, forgotten, unwanted. Grandpa would meet me for lunch every Thursday at this small diner between my office and his bakery. We'd split a sandwich and talk about our weeks. Those Thursdays were MY church, my peace, my reminder that I was loved. Then 3 years ago, Grandpa got sick. The doctors used big words: cancer, stage 4, aggressive. Translation, I was losing him. I quit my job immediately, moved back into his house, became his full-time caregiver. I cooked his meals, gave him his medicine, held his hand through the pain. The bakery had to close. He was too weak to work, and I couldn't run it alone. 30 years of business gone, but we had each other. That's what mattered. I called my parents to tell them Grandpa was dying. Maybe now they'd care. Maybe now they'd show up. My mother said she'd try to visit soon. That word again, soon. She never came. My father said he'd send money for medical bills. He sent $200, one time. Grandpa's treatments cost thousands. But neighbors showed up. People whose weddings Grandpa had baked cakes for. Kids who'd grown up eating his cookies. They brought meals, sat with him so I could shower, prayed with us. Strangers became family. My actual family stayed strangers. One night, Grandpa held my hand tight. His skin was paper-thin, his breathing shallow. "Jessica," he whispered, "I need you to know something. Everything I have, the house, my savings, all of it, it's yours. I've made it legal. Nobody can take it from you." I tried to argue, but he shook his head. "You earned this, you stayed, you loved me. That's worth more than blood." He died on a Sunday morning. I was holding his hand, telling him about a little girl at my old job who'd finally been adopted. He smiled, squeezed my hand one last time, and then he was gone, just like that. The man who'd raised me, who'd saved me, was gone. The funeral was packed. Over 200 people came. The line to view his casket wrapped around the building. Everyone had a story about Grandpa William's kindness. My parents showed up 20 minutes late, wearing black clothes that looked brand new. They stood in the back, barely speaking to anyone. After the service, my mother hugged me, the first time she'd touched me in years. It felt wrong, like hugging a stranger. "We should talk soon," my father said quietly. "About your grandfather's affairs." I knew what that meant, money. They smelled it like sharks smell blood. The will reading happened 1 week later. My parents arrived early, dressed like they were going to a job interview. The lawyer, Mr. Peters, was an old friend of Grandpa's. He'd known me since I was little. He opened the folder and read, "I, William Carter, leave my entire estate, including my home, my life savings, and all possessions, to my granddaughter, Jessica Marie Carter, who has been my true family." The room temperature dropped. My mother's face went from fake sadness to pure rage in 2 seconds. "What about US?" she demanded. "We're his children, his actual blood." Mr. Peters looked at her like she was something stuck to his shoe. "Mr. Carter was very clear. Jessica is his sole heir." My father stood up, his face red. "This is insane. That's over $3 million. She manipulated him. He was old and sick, not thinking straight." I just sat there, numb. I didn't want the money. I wanted Grandpa back. But they didn't care about him. They never had. This was about greed. Within 2 days, they filed a lawsuit. The local newspaper picked it up. "Granddaughter accused of stealing elderly man's fortune." My phone exploded. Messages from people I hadn't talked to in years, all judging me. Someone spray-painted thief on Grandpa's house, MY house now. People I thought were friends crossed the street to avoid me. I became the villain in a story I didn't write. But I wasn't broken. I was angry. Grandpa had prepared for this. He'd kept everything, records, receipts, proof. He'd known they'd come for the money eventually. So I hired a lawyer, a tough woman named Rebecca Stone who looked like she ate liars for breakfast. "Let them come," Rebecca said, cracking her knuckles. "We'll bury them in evidence." The trial started on a freezing January morning. The courtroom was packed with reporters and curious people. My mother walked in wearing pearls and a navy suit, playing the grieving daughter role perfectly. My father followed, looking serious and hurt. Their lawyer, Mr. Harrison, was slick. Too slick. Like used car salesman slick. "Your Honor," Harrison began, "this is a heartbreaking case. An elderly, sick man was preyed upon by his granddaughter, who isolated him and turned him against his own children. He painted me as a monster, a manipulator, a thief in disguise. The jury watched me like I might grow horns." They called their first witness, my mother. She took the stand and immediately started crying, fake tears that didn't reach her eyes. "William was my father," she sobbed dramatically. "We talked all the time. Then Jessica moved in and suddenly he stopped returning my calls. She poisoned him against us." I wanted to scream, but Rebecca just smiled and took notes. When it was her turn, she stood slowly. "Mrs. Carter," Rebecca said sweetly, "you say you talk to your father all the time. What was his favorite breakfast?" My mother blinked. Toast." Wrong. It was blueberry pancakes with real maple syrup. Every Sunday. "What year did he open his bakery?" Rebecca continued. My mother guessed. 1985. Wrong again. 1982. Rebecca went through 10 questions. My mother got none of them right. The jury started whispering. How could a loving daughter know nothing about her father? Then Rebecca pulled out the phone records, years and years of them. Highlighted in yellow were all the times Grandpa had called my mother. 312 calls over 8 years. She'd answered 19 times. 19 out of over 300. The jury's faces changed. They saw the truth now. "And these bank statements," Rebecca continued, her voice sharp as glass, "show that Mr. Carter sent you money, $800 every month for 10 years. That's nearly $100,000. Did you ever visit him? Thank him?" My mother's lawyer objected, but the damage was done. The jury knew she'd taken his money and given nothing back. My father took the stand next. He tried to play the strong, silent type, disappointed but dignified. "I wanted to be in Jessica's life," he claimed. "But William wouldn't let me. He turned her against me." Rebecca pulled out something that made my heart sing, birthday cards, dozens of them, all sent by Grandpa to my father asking him to visit me. Most were returned unopened. The ones that weren't had been thrown away, but Grandpa had saved them from the trash. He'd known we'd need proof someday. "Mr. Carter," Rebecca said coldly, "what's your daughter's middle name?" My father froze. He didn't know, he guessed. "Anne." Wrong. It's Marie, after Grandpa's late wife. The woman who'd helped raise me before she passed when I was 3. My own father didn't know my middle name. Then came the home videos. Rebecca had found them in Grandpa's attic, hours and hours of footage. Birthday parties, school plays, Christmas mornings, random Tuesday afternoons. Every single video showed the same 2 people, Grandpa William and me, baking together, laughing together, living life together. My parents appeared in exactly 2 videos, both times for less than 5 minutes before leaving. The courtroom watched in silence as the TV showed the truth. I'd been raised by a man who loved me, not the people who created me. The most damaging evidence came next. Rebecca presented Grandpa's medical records, every doctor's visit for the last 5 years. His mind had been sharp until the very end. No dementia, no confusion, no signs of being manipulated. His doctor, Dr. Kim, testified. William Carter was one of the clearest-minded patients I'd ever treated. He knew exactly what he wanted. He talked about Jessica constantly, how proud he was of her. Finally, Rebecca played a video. Grandpa had recorded it 3 months before he died, knowing this day might come. On the screen, Grandpa sat in his favorite chair, looking tired but determined. "My name is William Carter," he said clearly. I'm making this video because I know what's coming. My daughter and son-in-law will try to take what I'm leaving to Jessica. Let me be clear, Jessica didn't manipulate me. She loved me. She gave up her job, her life, to care for me. She earned every penny. Not through tricks, but through devotion. If you're watching this in a courtroom, know this. Jessica is my real family. The rest are just people who share my blood. The courtroom was silent. You could hear people breathing. My mother's face had gone completely white. My father stared at his hands. The jury was nodding. They understood now. The judge, Judge Martinez, looked at my parents with disgust in her eyes. I've been a judge for 23 years, she said, her voice cutting through the room like a knife. I've seen greedy people, but this is particularly shameful. You abandoned your child, ignored your father, and only showed interest when money was involved. She paused, letting that sink in. This case is dismissed. The will stands. Furthermore, you will pay all legal fees. Court is adjourned. The gavel slammed down like thunder. My mother started crying, real tears this time, tears of loss. Not for Grandpa, but for the millions she'd never touch. My father just walked out without looking back, always good at leaving. Outside the courthouse, reporters rushed toward me. Rebecca stepped in front like a shield. My client has no comment, she said firmly, but I stopped her. I had something to say. My grandfather taught me that family isn't about blood, I told the cameras. It's about who shows up, who stays, who loves you when it's hard. I had the best family in the world, just wasn't the one I was born into. That night I went home to the house Grandpa built, the house he'd left me, and I baked bread. At 4 a.m., just like he used to, the smell filled the house, warm and safe. I cried while I kneaded the dough, but they were good tears, healing tears. We won, Grandpa, I whispered. We won. My parents, they disappeared again, just like always. I heard through family friends that they moved to Florida, running from the shame. They never apologized, never reached out, but honestly, I didn't need them to. Their absence was the best gift they could give. I reopened Grandpa's bakery 6 months later. Same name, same recipes, same love baked into every loaf. On opening day, the line wrapped around the block, old customers returning, new ones curious. I make blueberry pancakes every Sunday morning, just like Grandpa did, and I never ever forget where I came from. So if you're watching this and someone's trying to steal what you built, what you earned through tears and time, fight. Keep your receipts, document everything. Truth always wins. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually truth breaks through lies like sunrise through fog. Where are you from? Comment your city below. And if you've got someone who chose to be your family when blood relatives walked away, drop their name. Let's celebrate the real heroes. This is Revenge Voice reminding you, loyalty isn't inherited. It's proven. One day at a time, one moment at a time, one choice at a time. They wanted my inheritance. They got public humiliation. I wanted justice for the man who raised me. I got everything, including the last laugh. Sweet revenge, served cold with a side of fresh-baked truth.